Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be going over how to write and evaluate some basic expressions with variables and comments in Python. Be sure to click the card icon in the top right of the screen to watch my previous video where I cover the basics of numerical expressions in Python if you haven't already. Also, be sure to give this video a like, and with that said, let's get straight into the video. So in natural language, we have terminology that lets us quickly reference very complicated concepts. For example, we don't say, "That's a large mammal with brown fur and sharp teeth." Instead, we just say bear. Similarly, an effective strategy for writing code is to define names for data as we compute it, like how a lawyer would define terms for complex ideas at the start of a legal document to simplify the rest of the writing. In Python, we do this with assignment statements. An assignment statement has a name on the left side of an equal sign and an expression to be evaluated on the right. So here we have an example of an assignment statement. When we run that cell, Python evaluates the expression. So it computes the value of that, which equals 10. Then it gives that value to the variable name 10. And at that point, the code in the cell is done running. After we run that cell, the value 10 is bound to the variable name 10, which you can see here. So the statement 10 equals 3 times 2 plus 4 is not asserting that the variable name 10 is already equal to that expression, as we might expect by analogy with math notation. Rather, that line of code changes what the variable 10 means. It now refers to the value 10, whereas before it meant nothing at all. So let's try writing code that uses a name like 11 that hasn't been assigned to anything. We should see an error. So let's run that cell. So as we see, we get a name error. Name 11 is not defined. This error makes sense since we don't have a variable named 11 defined before running the cell. So we're going to get that error. But if we go ahead and run the next cell, we see that the variable 11 now refers to the value 11. So to reduce the number of errors we get while working with variables, a common pattern in Jupyter Notebooks is to assign a value to a name and then immediately evaluate the name in the last line in the cell so that the value is displayed as output, as we see here. Another common pattern is that a series of lines in a single cell will build up a complex computation in stages, naming the intermediate results, as seen here. Names in Python can have letters, upper and lowercase letters are both okay, and count as different letters, underscores, and numbers. The first character can't be a number, otherwise a name might look like a number. And names can't contain spaces, since spaces are used to separate pieces of code from each other. Other than those rules, what you name something doesn't matter to Python. For example, this cell does the same thing as the above cell here, except everything has a different name. However, names are very important for making your code readable to yourself and others. This cell has shorter variable names, but it's totally useless without an explanation of what it does. In contrast, this cell here clearly explains what each variable contains. As we see here, we get the same value for both cells. So let's assign the name seconds in a decade to the number of seconds from 2010 to 2020. So I went ahead and wrote that variable in a code cell. The takeaway here is that without a clear variable name, such as seconds in a decade, someone may not understand what your code is doing. So having clear variable names is important for readability and quick understanding of the code. In addition to variable names, Python has another type of text called comments. So you may have noticed this line in the cell above. Test cell, please do not change. That is an example of a comment. It doesn't make anything happen in Python, and Python ignores anything on the line after a hashtag, which you can see here. Instead, It's there to communicate something about the code to you, the human reader. Comments are extremely useful. In fact, comments are so useful that they help remind you of your past work, as shown by this drawing. So let's go over a practical example of using clear variable names and comments from a physics experiment on the Apollo 15 mission to the moon. So I included a video of that experiment here. We're not going to watch the video here, but I did put the link in the cell in case you want to watch it on your own. For our purposes, I included a transcript of the video down here. Essentially, the experiment involves dropping a hammer and computing Newton's law of universal gravitation. The main concept that we want to work with from that video is Newton's law. The equation is shown here for reference. So we'll be using that equation for our calculations in the checkpoints below. So from the video, we find that the duration of the fall in the experiment is 1.2 seconds. Also, the estimated distance the hammer fell is 113 centimeters or 1.13 meters. Now let's use that equation from above to compute the difference between the predicted and estimated distances in meters that the hammer fell in this experiment. So here I copied the equation to make it easier for reference. So we have G, M, and R defined here. Then we defined the predicted distance in meters using the equation and variables above. Finally, we computed the distance between the predicted and estimated distances. The main takeaway here is that this gives you a good idea of how to use clear variable names and comments to easily understand the flow of the code. So it's always good to follow best practices for coding style conventions. So I hope you learned the best practices when it comes to variable names and comments in Python. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell to get notified when my videos get uploaded. Also, comment down below what you learned from this video and what other topics you want to see. And share this video with anyone interested in learning about data science. With that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.